to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. The number of houses damaged by the twin earthquakes that jolted Itbayat, Batanes on Saturday has climbed to 266, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said in its update Wednesday morning. Cambodia fined a company more than $250,000 for shipping 1,600 tons of plastic waste from the U.S. and Canada, an official said Tuesday, as Southeast Asian countries hit back against an influx of rubbish. And a Singaporean catering company has built a robot that serves up a piping hot bowl of laksa in 45 seconds. The number of houses damaged by the twin earthquakes that jolted Itbayat, Batanes on Saturday has climbed to 266, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said in its update Wednesday morning. This can be broken down into 185 totally and 81 partially damaged, as the report signed and released by NDRRMC Executive Director Ricardo Haddad showed. Also, a total of 299 aftershocks were recorded as of 7 a.m. Wednesday. The number of families affected by the earthquake was placed at 911, or 2,963 people. Of this figure, 805 families, or 2,616 individuals, are still staying at the Public Market Municipal Plaza in Barangay San Rafael in Itbayat. The number of dead is still at 9, while those injured at 64. Damaged government structures are placed at 2 schools and 2 health facilities, along with 10 road sections. The Department of Public Works and Highways has deployed an additional team to Itbayat, Batanes to assess the damage caused by earthquakes that hit the province on July 27. In a statement on Tuesday, the DPWH said the additional team will conduct rapid damage and needs assessment, as well as logistics for supplementary measure and light equipment for rescue operations. It added, as to the team, they are continuously conducting their assessment equipped with safety gears and guided by their team leader and safety officer. The DPWH said payloaders, dump trucks and mini dump trucks, service vehicles, a backhoe and a road grader have been initially deployed to Itbayat and Basco. The statement read, to date, residents are still at the quadrangle and were still not allowed to go home. Still, they are experiencing aftershocks. It added cracks were noted on the national roads along Mayan Mauyan Port Road, Mayan Paganaman Port Road, Mayan Chinapoliran Port Road, damages on school buildings, other public buildings including private ancestral houses and slope protections. The DPWH, however, reported that all national roads in Region 2, specifically in Batanes, are passable to all types of vehicles. It said all national roads and bridges are passable, but as instructed, residents are advised not to roam within the municipality where buildings and other infrastructures are affected to avoid additional accidents and casualty due to continuous aftershocks. On Saturday, 2 earthquakes struck the northernmost part of the country, killing 9 people and causing damage to churches, houses, and other structures. The strongest tremor was recorded at magnitude 5.9. Malacanang on Tuesday said it will not take statements made by Chinese officials at face value, especially in relation to the country's claims on the disputed South China Sea.
respect.
Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this remark after Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jianhua, said that China will not take the first shot amid rising tensions in the disputed waters.
We do not take words of other countries on their face value. The president will always think beyond those words. The president is mandated to protect the security of this country as well as the Filipino people. Hence, he will anticipate what may come out of any aggressive action that this country may undertake vis-a-vis the conflict in that area.
Asked if the palace also takes Chinese President Xi Jinping's earlier warning to President Rodrigo Duterte that there would be trouble if the Philippines would undertake oil explorations in the West Philippine Sea at face value, Panelo replied that they took it as an anticipation of what may happen.
Even without those saying that, we always think of the security of the Filipino people.
Panelo, meanwhile, reiterated that the best way to resolve the sea row between the Philippines and China is through bilateral negotiations. He earlier said bilateral negotiations are meant to ensure that safety of the Filipinos from possible armed conflict.
Again, we will repeat our position. We said that the conflict in that region will be the subject of continuous negotiation between the two countries. And by such mechanism, we hope to solve or resolve the conflict, whatever they are.
During the 92nd founding anniversary celebration of the People's Liberation Army in Makati on Monday, Zhao stressed China's principle of defense, self-defense, and post-strike response. Zhao said China develops its military to defend the country, provide the people with a peaceful environment, and ensure its citizens are free from the disasters and calamities of war. Cambodia fined a company more than $250,000 for shipping 1,600 tons of plastic waste from the U.S. and Canada, an official said Tuesday, as Southeast Asian countries hit back against an influx of rubbish. China's decision to ban foreign plastic waste imports last year threw global recycling into chaos as shipping containers filled with trash were rerouted to ports in the region. The discovery of 83 plastic-filled containers at Cambodia's Sihanoukville port this month fueled outrage among officials who said the country was not a rubbish bin. It gave the firm responsible, Chung Yuen plastic manufacturer, until August 24 to send the shipment back to the U.S. and Canada and fined it $254,000. The company will face further action through the courts if it does not comply with the order and pay Kun Mim, Director General of Cambodia's Customs Department, according to reporters. 70 of the containers are from the U.S., while the remainder came from Canada, he added. He did not provide details on how they ended up in Sihanoukville. He added it could be that they shipped it to Cambodia temporarily when they could not find a country to accept the waste. Indonesia has returned 7 shipping containers of illegally imported waste to France and Hong Kong, an official said Tuesday, marking the latest move by a Southeast Asian nation to send back rubbish to their wealthy places of origin. The containers were loaded with a combination of garbage, plastic waste, and hazardous materials in violation of import rules, according to customs officials on Batam Island near Singapore. Head of local custom office Susila Brata told media Tuesday the containers left on Monday and some officials were there to see the ship depart. Earlier, customs spokesman Sumarna, who like many Indonesians goes by one name, told media that 5 containers were destined for Hong Kong and 2 were headed back to France. Authorities were still waiting for clearance to return another 42 containers of waste at the port, including shipments from the United States, Australia, and Germany. Jakarta has stepped up monitoring of imported waste in recent months as part of a push back against serving as a dumping ground for foreign trash. For years, China received the bulk of scrap plastic from around the world, but closed its doors to foreign refuse last year in an effort to clean up its environment. Huge quantities of waste have since been redirected to Southeast Asia, including Malaysia, Indonesia, and, to a lesser degree, the Philippines. Global concern over plastic pollution has been spurred by shocking images of waste-clogged rivers in Southeast Asia and accounts of dead sea creatures found with kilos of refuse in their stomachs. Around 300 million tons of plastic are produced every year, according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, with much of it ending up in landfills or polluting the seas in what has become a growing international crisis.
Hari ini kita melakukan reekspor terhadap 7 kontainer. Hasil dari rekomendasi dari Kementerian LHK bahwa terhadap 49 kontainer harus melakukan reekspor, dan ini adalah 7 daripada 49 tadi. Nanti akan terus bertahap sampai dengan selesai. 7 kontainer tujuan Perancis ada 2 kontainer, dan selanjutnya tujuan Hong Kong ada 5 kontainer.
Is our most important asset, and it should.
ng gabi.
Welcome back. Dozens of live pangolins smuggled from Laos were discovered dehydrated and weak on a bus in central Vietnam, police and conservationists said Tuesday, in a country where the endangered mammals are a highly prized delicacy. The small docile pangolin is the most trafficked animal in the world and is found across Asia and Africa, with one snatched from the wild every 5 minutes, according to the World Wildlife Fund. In Vietnam, pangolin meat is considered high-end and hard to find, and their scales are used in traditional medicine to treat allergies and impotence. Police on Monday found 30 pangolins stuffed into boxes on a bus in Ha Tinh province, arresting the driver and his wife on suspicion of trafficking the animals from Laos. 4 were already dead, and many of the surviving animals were in bad shape, according to Truong Van Truong from the NGO Save Vietnam's Wildlife. He told media most were dehydrated and weak because they were kept in a tight space for a long time. The pangolins were tied into individual sacks and crammed into a box where they might have been kept for weeks with little water or food. They will be nursed back to health before the strongest are released back into the wild. Police said the driver and his wife were paid to transport the animals from neighboring Laos. The rescue comes on the heels of major wildlife seizures over the past week in Vietnam, both a consumption and transport hub for illegal wildlife in Asia. Often described as scaly ant-eaters, pangolins crawl into a ball when scared, making them easy prey for hunters. They once roamed free in Vietnam's forests, but numbers have dwindled dramatically thanks to rampant poaching and habitat loss. They are categorized as critically endangered according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Malacanang on Tuesday expressed concern over a Britain-based watchdog's report, which showed that the Philippines is the most dangerous place for land and environmental activities. In its report, Global Witness saw 30 murders of people who defended their homes, lands, and natural resources from exploitation in the Philippines in 2018.
The government will always be concerned with respect to any violence inflicted against the citizens of this country, whether done by outside forces or by those inside this country.
Panelo, however, acknowledged how killings took place due to conflicts among claimants of particular lands.
Well, that happens if there are conflicts among claimants of a particular land.
The second most dangerous country for land activists is Colombia with 24 deaths, followed by India with 23 deaths in 2018. The United Nations Human Rights Council earlier expressed concern over the environmental human rights defenders around the world. The 47-member body approved a resolution calling for the protection of environmental human rights defenders during its 40th session in Geneva, Switzerland on March of this year. Under the resolution, the human rights body stressed the need to develop protection mechanisms for environmental human rights defenders. Ride-hailing giant Grab is investing $2 billion in Indonesia over the next 5 years, using funds from Japan's SoftBank Group to boost its presence in Southeast Asia's biggest economy, according to firms on Monday. The Singapore-based firm has seen its business grow rapidly since it bought U.S.-based rival Uber's regional ride-hailing and food business in March last year in exchange for a 27.5% stake in Grab. Its Indonesian investment will focus on building a next-generation electric vehicle transport network and rolling out e-healthcare services to improve access to doctors and medical services across the archipelago. The announcement came after SoftBank last week said it would partner with tech firms including Apple and Microsoft in a new $108 billion investment fund. It is the long-mooted successor to its Mammoth Vision Fund, which took stakes in leading tech startups from Uber to WeWork. SoftBank Chairman Masayoshi Son said in a statement, Indonesia's technology sector has huge potential and that he is very happy to be investing $2 billion into the future of Indonesia through Grab. The Japanese firm has also invested in Grab, which competes with Indonesian ride-hailing giant Gojek and offers a host of services, including food delivery and bill payments. On Monday, Grab also announced plans to build a second headquarters in Indonesia that will house a research and design center.
Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. Some of the species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. The Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ holds Aid to Humanity event in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Here's Eduardo Boyce Jr.
Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ, in cooperation with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, launched various activities under the project Aid to Humanity. Church members and officers donated pre-loved clothes to show support and unity in this endeavor. This is also in commemoration of the 105th anniversary of the Iglesia Ni Cristo.
Led by ministers and church officers here in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, they helped and worked hand in hand to repackage the donated clothes. These clothes will be given to those invited loved ones and friends by Iglesia Ni Cristo.
A medical mission was also conducted in today's event with the assistance of registered nurses and volunteers.
Ako po ay naiiyahan ni Joy, lokal ng Phnom Penh. Nagpapasalamat po ako sa pag-anyaya sa akin at ipagpapatuloy ko po ang aking pagsamba sa Iglesia ni Cristo. Sa lahat po ng Iglesia ni Cristo, hinabali ko po kayo ng happy 105th anniversary.
Visitors from different walks of life gave their smiles and thanks in exchange of the help given by volunteers, for they believe to always do good whenever possibly they can.
A Singaporean catering company has built a robot that serves up a piping hot bowl of laksa in 45 seconds. The robot, dubbed Sophie by its creators, can be rented by clients to serve around 80 bowls per hour of this spicy noodle soup, one of the city-state's signature dishes at catered events. Take a look.
So what I wanted is you reach point one time, and then you want to visit the same.
We have to actually be very precise in every step of doing the laksa. That include having the prawn in the laksa as well. They have to actually be very precise, and they have to do programming just to capture one prawn at a time. And when it comes to the gravy, they have to make sure that the gravy doesn't spill as well. We also actually want to cut down repetitive stuff, repetitive work, and like for the chef, they can actually concentrate on just not only always serving clients with the laksa. They can actually also speak to the client, like help them with the laksa, and then top up the ingredients, clean up the stations. It's ready.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. You get the condiment there on the side. It's hot.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay up